Hey everyone, spring is right around the corner, and with that, we have to have a plan in place for our lawns to help bring it out of that winter freeze. So today, we're going to talk about the steps needed to get our lawns looking green again come springtime, so stick around. Hey everyone, my name is Mike. Welcome to Mike's Home and Garden. Thank you for joining me for another video. So as I mentioned in the introduction, we need to start thinking as spring is approaching of a plan to bring our lawns out of that winter freeze and get it looking great and growing again. And if you haven't thought about it yet, whether you're still outside this month shoveling snow or you're simply staying inside under a warm blanket because, frankly, it's freezing outside, like here today, you might notice my environment. I'm indoors because it's been raining and cold outside and just simply, I can't film, I can't work or do anything out in the yard. But I'm still thinking about now, what is my plan for spring? So today I'm going to go through a few important steps that we need to take to ensure our lawns are ready to go come springtime. Now, with last year being our first year in this house, my main project was really just getting the lawn to look decent. I could tell it wasn't taken care of for a long time, and I had to take a few simple steps to get it into a good shape for the summer. And I think I achieved that. Looking at how the lawn looked over the summer compared to when we first moved in, really happy with the results. And then, of course, in the fall, I had that large project in the front lawn with the Bermuda transformation, bringing in the bluegrass and mixing it with the Bermuda. And the Bermuda is hanging on even now with it being freezing outside. It's not super green, but you can see the bluegrass in there. It definitely filled in nicely during the fall, and I'm really happy with how that project turned out. But now, after the deep freeze and we're starting to move into a little bit warmer weather and spring is on the horizon, it's really time to start planning to get the lawn ready to, spring into growth, which no pun intended, coming into spring. So I have two goals going from spring into summer this year with my lawn, and that's control the weeds and really push that bluegrass growth to ensure it can withstand the dominance of the Bermuda grass come summertime. As we all know who have Bermuda lawns, once July hits and that hot weather starts coming in, that Bermuda grass is going to take off like the dominant grass, the alpha grass that it is. So let's start talking about our plan. And step one is before the grass really starts growing like crazy, we need to get some pre-emergent down. We need to have a barrier down so when the soil temperatures start rising, the weeds, when they start trying to germinate, will die off and not take root. Now, if you pay attention at all to lawn care YouTube, right now pre-emergent is all the talk, and for good reason. Moving into spring, you want to get ahead of the curve before it gets too warm out to get that pre-emergent down. Now is really the time to start, but you have to also pay attention to the weather, and that's what I'm facing right now. The weather has been wet. The ground here in the Carolinas is saturated. You should see how bad it is outside. In fact, I'm going to put some footage up here just so you can see how soaked our grass is right now. I could basically do a review on canoes and do that as my YouTube as I'm floating around in my backyard because that's how bad it's been. The clay soil is just completely saturated. So back to pre-emergent, there's really two schools of thought with pre-emergent. There's the granular and the liquid, and both schools will have their own opinions on why theirs is the pro and the other is the con. I'm here to say I'm using granular because it's easy and because it's affordable and quick to get access to. So it's easy to use. You only need a spreader for it. You don't have to have a backpack liquid sprayer or a hose end sprayer. It's simply put it in the spreader and go. And it's fairly cheap. The Spectracide brand weed control I'm going to be using, it has the crabgrass preventer in it. It's under 20 bucks a bag, and one bag should be covering my lawn based on the square footage. Now, that's something important to pay attention to, how many square feet your lawn is versus the coverage of the bag. Generally, a bag of pre-emergent is going to cover between 3,000 and 5,000 square feet, and it's usually on the front of the bag. So pay attention when you're either online shopping for it or at the Home Depot or Lowe's looking for it. How many square feet does the bag cover versus how big your lawn is? But really, the Spectracide brand is a win-win because it's really effective and it's really affordable, which that is what it's all about with lawn care. We don't want to have to break the bank or also overthink how we're doing this. Let's keep it simple and really have fun out in that lawn. Now, as for the Spectracide brand, if you are interested in wanting to learn more, I did drop a link to it down in the description. Go check it out and tell me what you think about it. I have been really happy with using it. You can see other reviews of the Spectracide brand product on YouTube, and everyone has great things to say about it. It's not going to break your bank, so I definitely recommend it. Now, before I get going on step 2, I have one thing to ask you. Can you please hit that like button? If this information's been valuable to you so far and you enjoy watching my channel, hitting that like button lets me know that you're there and I will keep going making these videos. I really appreciate it. Now, for step 2, do you ever get a really good night's sleep where you sleep a really long time, really deep, and wake up in the morning and you're starving to the point where you want to go to the refrigerator and clear it out like multiple Denny's Grand Slams giant breakfast and just eat it all? That's your lawn when it wakes up in the spring. It is going to be hungry and ready to grow. As it starts warming up out, it's going to be looking for all the nutrients in the soil that it can get. And let me tell you, over the winter, when there's a lot of water and precipitation and a lot of flooding like we have here, all those nutrients that we put down in the fall or that are naturally existing in the soil, they leach out, they leak out and wash away. We have to be ready to put more nutrients in the soil come that last frost date so the soil is ready for that grass to grow in. Now in the fall, we put down a good balanced fertilizer to get the lawn ready to go to sleep and then also to have nutrients through the winter as needed and also sun in place for that spring thaw and wake up. But as I mentioned, with it being so wet out, I want to make sure we have more in there so the lawn's ready to go when it really starts warming up out. So to ensure our lawns have enough nutrients when they're ready to start growing again, we got to get some fertilizer down here by that last frost date, which here is about 8 weeks away. In your area, it might be sooner. You may have not had a frost date if you live somewhere really warm, or it might be later. You may still be shoveling snow right now. Actually, I still see you two guys here on the lawn community doing reviews on electric snow shovels, and it's middle of February, so it'll warm up eventually. Just you got to be patient. We got to start looking at fertilizer though, and really the NPK ratio, we want to pay attention to have an N number that's large, like a 24011, which is the Let's Go type fertilizer I like to use. Having a lot of nitrogen in the fertilizer is going to really boost that top growth, the leaf growth of the grass, so it'll start really thickening up above ground. So I just mentioned the Let's Go brand. I like it because it's really affordable and it's nitrogen heavy, and the lawn last year loved it. I mean, during the summer when I was using that every month, the results speak for themselves in terms of how the lawn looked. So like with the Spectracide pre-emergent, I'm going to drop the fertilizer down in the description too. If you're interested in a good nitrogen heavy turf fertilizer that's really going to boost the top growth for your lawn from spring into summer, the Let's Go brand is really great. Sunnyland's another good brand. I know Lowe's and Home Depot kind of alternate between who carries what, but for me, when I'm looking for a product, I'm going first for Let's Go. So definitely check that out as well. And also let me know in the comments, what fertilizer do you like to use? Of course, Milorganite's a classic, organic, tried and true one. There's a lot of other ones out there. I know Scott's has some really great new looking products out there as well, but I'm going to go with what I know. But I'm curious to know, what are you going to be using? So the final thing I want to talk about, I'm glad you stuck around to the end because this is a really important point. When do we put this stuff down? That's really the question we need to answer right now, because we buy our products, we have everything in the garage ready to go, but it's still snowing out or it's still raining out. And really the fact of the matter is, in terms of timing, any time between now and spring is going to be okay to get it down, weather permitting. You're going to have to go based on the weather. And so for example, here in the Carolinas, we've had a really rainy, wet winter. I'm going to wait until the ground has a chance to dry out before I put anything down. I don't want to put down the pre-emergent or the fertilizer when my lawn is flooded. Now in your area, if it's still frozen, if it's still covered in snow, wait for it to thaw out a bit, wait for the snow to kind of dissipate and get out of the way, so that way the granule products can get down to the soil, and then you can either water it in or wait for the rain to come and get it soaked into that top layer of soil. For me, like I said, I'm going to wait for it to dry out. I'm thinking probably 2 to 3 more weeks because it's been a really wet winter and there's still more rain in the forecast. So really at this point, if you're asking yourself, when is it time to put it down? Now it's really just about paying attention to the weather. And once you get a dry span where it's a few days of no rain, it gives that soil a chance to dry out. That's the time to do it. Now the reality is, with both products, you can do them both on the same day. You can go spread out the pre-emergent and go spread out the fertilizer, and it would be fine. It'll not cause any issues. In fact, knock it all out in a couple hours and be done with it for the season. Wait until later on in the spring, come Memorial Day, to do next application. Now for me, I'm going to split it up. I'm going to do the pre-emergent first and then wait a couple more weeks and let it warm up a little bit and then put the fertilizer. That's a personal preference. I want the fertilizer to go down closer to when the grass is going to start really waking up and growing again. That way the nutrients are more readily available for the grass and doesn't have a chance for, say, more rain to come and wash it all away. I want to try to avoid that. But with the pre-emergent, as soon as the soil dries out, put it down and let the rain soak it in. It'll create that barrier on the top of the soil to prevent weeds from getting going as soon as it starts warming up out. So with this plan and this two-step process, it's best to get the products now, even if it's not time yet to put it down. Have them in your garage ready to go. Either go grab them off the internet or go to your local home goods store and pick it up and have it ready to go. So when you get to a weekend or a weekday day where you realize that the ground is dry and there's no rain for a couple days, then you can go out there and get it ready and not have to scramble to the store. Though any excuse to go to Home Depot on a random day is not a bad thing. It's nice to go browse. But for this, let's be prepared. I can't wait to bring you along on this 2021 lawn and garden season. If you have any questions or comments about the two-step plan we talked about today, drop them down below, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And if you stuck with me all the way through the end, thank you so much. It means the world to me. Hit that like button. You guys are all awesome, and I will see you on the next video.